Hello and welcome to The Exchange, brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. We're live in Hollywood, Florida at Inside ETFs. As a reminder, today's video is for informational purposes only. The NYC does not recommend investments or investment strategies. I am joined by Jason Hsu. He is the chairman and CIO at Rayliant ETFs. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here, Doug.
Tell me, what are you talking about with all the advisors? What are the conversations about today?
So we're known as a EM and China specialist. So when I talk to advisors are asking, look, a lot of people are recommending EM because EM is so cheap, but it's been cheap for a while and it's been somewhat disappointing. Is this the time to go in? Is there a reason that structurally EM will now start to outperform? So we get a lot of questions, of course, and people are asking about China, right? China's about as negative from a sentiment perspective. If you're contrarian, is this the time to hit China and maybe expect a turnaround?
Yeah, well, let's answer some of those questions. I mean, what are you thinking right now? Are these entry points? How should investors, advisors think about China EM in a broad investment portfolio?
So let me start with China, right? I mean, no one is saying China is safe. And if you're going to wait until China is safe, you're going to be waiting forever, right? Part of being an investment professional is you want to take risks that pay. And when there's a lot of media attention, negative headlines, that means the risk is being aware, expressed, and sometimes overpriced. That is a time when you take the risk, and the risk will pay, and might even pay really well because there's a lot of fear, right? So we tend to like buying when there's fear. So that goes for China, and I think that goes for EM, right? There's just a lot of negativity about EM. EM hasn't really performed well. But, I think because of that, this is almost the right opportunity to rotate into it.
Yeah, you remind me, I had a boss when I first started the industry, and he loved the phrase, buy when they cry and sell when they yell. And you just remind me of that. Tell me a little bit about your ETFs.
So clearly you're not surprised. We have a China ETF and we have an EM ETF. They're both active, listed on the NYSE, and we like being active here, right? Generally, I'm a big supporter of kind of passive index ETF for US large cap. It's a very efficient market, hard to beat, right? Hard to beat the S&P 500. But when you're talking about China, which is 85% retail trading, lots of bubbles, very inefficient pricing, I think active makes sense. When you talk about EM, it's the same story, right? If you're not active in EM, oftentimes you're buying a giant basket of state-owned enterprises, which are value traps, and they'll never grow. So you want to be active in regions where it makes sense.
So for anyone listening in, they're maybe not as familiar with Rayliant and your ETFs. First, of course, tell us the ticker symbols. But second, tell us a little bit about some of the research you provide and some of the ways in which you target that market, because I know I'm a follower of yours on social media, and I mean, you guys are producing unbelievable research about the region.
So absolutely. So the ticker is RAYC for Rayliant China. That's our active China ETF, and RAYE for emerging markets. Rayliant emerging markets. That's our active EM product. You can follow our research, on LinkedIn. Go to our corporate website, rayliantfunds.com, and you can subscribe, and we'll get our research right into your inbox.
Perfect. And again, if you want to learn more about those ticker symbols, you can find it all at etfcentral.com. You just go onto that search bar. You could type in Rayliant, you could type in the ticker symbols, or frankly, probably China or emerging, and you're going to find them all there, and you can learn and follow. Now, if you're like me, you'll want to follow Dr. Jason Hsu on LinkedIn. Please do that as well. Thank you, Jason, for joining us. Thanks for talking about ETFs with the New York Stock Exchange. Thanks for listening in to the home of ETFs.